Good evening, sports fans, and welcome to the most bipolar broadcast in baseball podcast history. I'm your host, Jim Delfino, and I'm the only man who can watch the Red Sox sweep the Astros and still find room to complain about Dustin May's elbow like it personally insulted my cat. If sarcasm were a currency, I could buy the Yankees and regulate them to the Cape Cod League. I am joined tonight, as always, by the immortal Nick Face, the only analyst who reviews deadline trades like he's grading failed math tests written in crayon. Also joining me tonight is Nick Diamond, whose take on BABIP once made a Wi Fi router short circuit. He's armed with a laptop, Baseball Savant's website, and an alarm that goes off anytime anyone praises ERA. Nick believes in three things: defensive efficiency, hot dogs lined up by OPS, and bringing a miniature whiteboard to birthday parties just to diagram the cake to frosting ratio in real time. In fact, last week he got into a heated debate with a balloon animal over expected velocity, and it didn't end well. Today's 6-1 win wasn't just decisive, it was diabolical. The Red Sox are now 62 and 51 on the season, undefeated in the month of August, and 3 games back in the division behind only your Toronto Blue Jays. They are up +2 in the wild card standings and are currently in first position, which gives them some home field advantage. Lucas Giolito threw like he's read Houston's playbook backwards, forwards, and inside out. 8 innings, 1 run, and the aura of someone pitching just despite Craig Breslow's trade strategy spreadsheet. Framber Valdez is more like flammable Valdez. Fourth inning, 6 runs, a balk, a pass ball, a wild pitch, maybe a flying piece of pizza, and a bunt that danced under his glove like it was avoiding a parking ticket. Roman Anthony sparked the chaos, hitting his 15th double of the season already. Trevor Story piled on, going 2 for 4, and Cedane Rafaela made it feel personal himself by going 3 for 3. The Sox lit up Valdez like they were avenging Rafael Devers' dignity. Now back to your regularly scheduled nausea. Reviewing the trade deadline debacle, Craig Breslow made 2 moves. That's it, 2. One involving Steve Matz, who hasn't thrown a fastball since TikTok was relevant, and another for Dustin May, whose elbow has been through more rebuilds than downtown Worcester. Matt's 34 with a 3.44 ERA and has a whip that barely registers. He's been on the IL so often, he's eligible for frequent flyer miles. He's a deadline upgrade the same way duct tape is a fire extinguisher. Dustin May is 6-7 with a 485 and 97 strikeouts in 104 innings. His last start was against Boston, where we tagged him for 4 earned, and Breslow watched that and thought, yep, that's our guy. It's like seeing someone slip on a banana peel and offering them a job as your balance coach. Let's get into it. Nick Face, I see you smiling like you won the lottery. You got to be loving the hometown team about right now.
I cannot believe what I just watched this weekend. I thought we were ready for the funeral this weekend after the deadline debacle, where we hardly got anything to really help our team in Dustin May and Steven Matz. Well, we saw Matz over the weekend. He looked fine, just another weapon in the bullpen who's left-handed. But I think the biggest thing we have to break down here, as I said this to Jim off camera, even before Nick came in, this series alone was the biggest series win of the season for the Red Sox. I had them losing 2 of 3. Jim, I think you were in the same boat. Nick, you probably were in the same as well. The Friday night game, we need to talk about this big time here tonight, because I don't get why Cooper Criswell does not get opportunities with this team. Cooper Criswell gave you 15, I think he's thrown 15 starts right now of about a 3.50 ERA, has kept the team in it and everything. Where has he been? Witness protection program? He came up through a gem Friday night. Nowhere in America did we expect this to happen on Friday night. And then he gets exiled right back to Worcester. Last night, or Saturday's game, Saturday afternoon, another one. Again, Buehler sucked. I don't want to see Buehler again. I'm in the camp. I'm done. But I got to give credit where credit's due. The bats came alive. They delivered. They came back. And the bullpen got the job done big time yesterday afternoon. Today, Red Sox were down early 1-0. Giolito gave up the home run to Carlos Correa. But then the bats in that fourth inning, they erupted, starting, of course, with Mr. Roman Anthony. I feel like anytime we want to say, hey, the bats are coming alive, I feel like Roman Anthony is the signal fire of getting everything starting as that catalyst. And then it just fell apart for the Astros with errors and Framel, whatever you call his name, Valdez, falling on his face, not knowing what the heck's going on. And then Giolito was just outstanding today. 8 strong. That's my number 2, guys. There he is. I don't know. I guess I got to give him that title right now. I got to give it to him. But I am so thrilled for this team. They shut all of us people up about the trade deadline and said, you know what? Maybe we really don't need anything because maybe we're going to be okay. But you just took care of a premier team in Major League Baseball in the Astros, and I'm feeling probably the best I have about this team right now.
Yeah, I mean, they got Carlos Correa and they got the left-hander from Miami. Nick Diamond, your opening takes on the weekend series.
Just like Nick said, I had the Red Sox losing 2 of 3. I thought they had the best chance in winning was the middle game with the Walker Buehler start. And like Nick said, Walker Buehler was horrible. Yep. I think he needs to be the guy out of the rotation. I think Richard Fitz is better. I think Cooper Criswell is better. And hopefully Dustin May will step in and be better than him. Walker Buehler looked awful. He got no strikeouts, very low swing and a miss percentage. He got hit hard all game. I think he had 9 hits given up, and he didn't even get out of the 4th inning. So, or maybe it was the 5th inning, but he only went like 4 in the 3rd. Yeah, Walker Buehler has no business playing Major League Baseball at the moment. If you want, you can Phantom IL him. If you want, you could DFA him, get him off the roster. He cannot be put out there. He cannot be pitching quality or pitching big-time innings down the stretch for the Red Sox. Another take, Roman Anthony's an absolute superstar. I've got him right now as like a top 25 player in the game. And he's only getting better. The on-base percentage is over 405. He's hitting the ball hard every time he's up there. The only thing I would have to say that I would like to see him improve on is maybe swing a little bit more. He kind of does take a few pitches that I don't like, borderline pitches that I feel like he can hit hard that he thinks are just outside the zone, and sometimes he gets rung up on them. He's a 21-year-old rookie. He has to expect that's going to happen. But besides that, this is as high as they're ever going to be on the Red Sox going forward. I think 11 games over 500, that's not something I expected to say about a month ago or a month and a half ago with this baseball team as low as 5-6 games under 500. And now they're 11 games over, sitting solely in second place. So if you want to be hyped about the Red Sox, this is the time to be hyped.
Yeah, good points, Nick. I want to bring up Nick Face. You brought up a little bit about Cooper Criswell, and I couldn't agree more. I looked at his stats yesterday, and I don't remember exactly the numbers that jumped off the page, but since 2024, he's only had 2 stinkers. One that he gave up, I think, 5 runs. One was 7 runs. Everything else has been, within an ERA of 3.5, 4. And, you highlight it with the game against the Astros here to open up the series. And you kind of are, he's definitely making a question to stay in this rotation. I understand bringing him down is all about options and so forth, but, you have to be sitting there as a Red Sox fan and say, why doesn't this guy get that shot as the number 5 guy, or at least on this roster 100% over someone like Akala, or some other options? Because right now, I think you got to consider him the best value in baseball. It was a $1 million deal last year. It was a 1-year, $1 million deal for this year. And I feel pretty good with him on the mound. It's not one of those things where, Hicks is coming in and it's like, oh, Christ, what is this going to look like in 5 minutes? I feel pretty good with Cooper Criswell. I'd like to hear a couple more thoughts on Criswell from you guys.
I know it's only been 1 start, but you know what? I already have confidence knowing that his repertoire that's going on in Worcester right now from what he's been working on absolutely translates to the major league level. And we saw from last season, this guy can give you a steady presence, whether it's out of the bullpen, starting, middle relief, long relief. You need that as a weapon, especially in your bullpen. And you also just sent Bernardino down as well too. I was not happy about hearing that. And I jokingly had I think, Jim, you liked my thing when I said yesterday, I want Alfalfa out of my life. I'm not even calling him Alcala anymore. I'm going to call him Alfalfa. Get him out of here. Ship him down, and then heart attack. I think I nicknamed him Jordan Death Hicks. That's my nickname for him. Death. Because he is going to rip us apart and kill us all if that is the guy that you're going to see like you did. I think it was last night. Yes, he escaped the Houdini Act, but my God, that guy, he can he's like Charlie Sheen from Major League. He's going to hit the announcer's booth at some point in this season if we continue this. Just a bit outside is correct. He's going to hurt somebody. Mercy.
Nick Diamond, take me through Cooper Criswell. What's your thoughts on Cooper, and do you believe that he should be part of this rotation moving forward?
If you're comparing Cooper Criswell to Walker Buehler, he absolutely should be going forward in the rotation over him. You know, he's kind of the opposite of Walker Buehler at the moment. Walker Buehler can't throw strikes, throws too many pitches, can't find the zone at all. And Cooper Criswell just pounds the zone with 86, 87, 88. He doesn't have very much swing and miss stuff, but he gets ground balls. He works fast. He gets the guys out quickly. He went 7 strong innings, 84 pitches, I think 65, 66% strikes. So he's up there with the best. So I put him in the rotation over a guy like Walker Buehler. I know they don't want to cut the money and, admit it was a mistake, but you're just lucky he didn't sign that 3-year deal when he had the chance to. So I would get rid of Walker Buehler. I'd let Dustin May have a few shots in the rotation, see what he's like. But right now, Cooper Criswell is the hot hand, so I would run with him. Going forward in the bullpen, I agree with you on Aaron Hicks, man. I think he needs to find the strike zone. I thought moving him back to the pen would do wonders for him. I know the Giants try to make him a starter, which I thought was a mistake. I've always thought that was a mistake. He always threw 101 out of the pen. He threw 95, 96 as a starter. So I thought moving him back to the pen would help him. It looks like it hasn't. The concern out there with the command is always going to be out there. So I think you have to find a way to develop another back-end guy. I know we have our first Justin Slayton update in a while. Maybe early September he might be back. He started throwing again or through a pen. So I think there's a chance we see him again. We thought we will never see him again. Maybe thought he was headed for surgery. So we might have a chance to see a guy like Justin Slayton back during a stretch run.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think if we can get Slayton in there and he's effective, it's just going to strengthen our bullpen. One of the other things, too, with Walker Buehler, I mean, it would make sense if there's going to be some sort of phantom injury, IL stint. That might be a way to go to get Criswell into that rotation and have him 5th or May 4th or something like that. I want to switch gears a little bit, and I want to talk about Trevor Story. And I want to talk about the Trevor Story Redemption Tour. 2 for 4 today with an RBI. He had his 4th multi-hit game in the last week, and he's had 0 errors in his last 15 starts. Nick Diamond, what are you seeing with Trevor Story this year, outside of health, perhaps, that you haven't seen in the last couple seasons? And is this for real, or is he just having a lucky season?
We really haven't seen him at all in the last few seasons, so there's nothing to compare him to as a Red Sox besides that one 2022 stretch where he got really hot. I'm going to say it's for real as long as he stays healthy. There's always concern that he's going to have a freak injury and be out for the season. And then I don't know what the Red Sox do if something like that happens. But, if you look back to his Rockies career, Trevor Story's always been a guy that's going to hit 20, 25 home runs and steal 20, 25 bags. The swing and miss is going to come and go as you watch with him. He's a streaky guy. I'm surprised he's kind of catching up to these fastballs that he hasn't in the past. That was always his concern. He couldn't hit anything over 95, 96 miles per hour. He was always going to hit hanging breaking balls up in the zone. That was his only chance. And he swung out of the zone and got himself in the hole. So as long as he is just a streaky guy, plays decent defense, he's going to go his over 25, over 30 streaks, but he's also going to go 15 for 30 with 6 home runs or something like that and carry the team for a while. So as long as he stays healthy, he's going to be a valuable player for the Red Sox, but you never know. There's always a chance.
Nick Face, similar question. Trevor Story, is he your MVP on this 2025 Red Sox?
Oh, no. I can't do that. I need to simmer down on the Trevor Story redemption tour here because I know what's going to happen. I know if I go out and I say I'm happy and I am overjoyed by how great Trevor Story has been right now, he will go on an 0 for 50 streak and strike out 30 times. So I'm not going to do that. But I will talk about some positives. Number one, the biggest takeaway to me has been Story driving the ball the other way. This weekend in particular, where he was dumping the ball onto the right side and doing it effectively to move guys along. I think that's been the biggest thing that stood out to me with the adjustments that have been made. And it doesn't mean I mean, it's coming from any kind of pitch. It's coming from off speed, it's coming from fastballs, and driving it with authority over to right field. To me, that's when I look at when Trevor Story is on. I feel like when he's off, he's on the Pete Fatsy launch angle diet. That's what happens, is when he's trying to tattoo it and take everything that he's worked so hard on going the other way to granted. He has been on a home run binge in the past couple weeks too, but the difference that I see in that is he's still being able to take the ball to the opposite field. That's a clear sign to me that something's working with him. So the same rhythm and the same technique that's going where he's probably in the cage working with Fatsy or whoever it is with him, use the same approach because that's when the most effective use of Trevor Story is shown. And he's doing a great job of that. The other thing I want to mention is the glove. The glove is actually what stood out to me the most this season. Even when he was, hitting a $120 in May, we have seen consistency with the range in particular, and that has been spectacular to see because you didn't really know coming off the injury how much of an impact this would be with arm strength and range and just moving around the diamond to see what he can do. And his glove next to Bregman, that's got to be one of the best defensive alignments that there is in baseball with Bregman and Story together right there. It's special. It is special on that left side of the diamond. So I don't know if it's sustainable. I have to tell you that right now because we've seen so much streak with Trevor Story. I want to see the same approach. If this same approach continues consistently, this will be a great season for Story. And then when September hits, hopefully it can lead the Red Sox into the playoffs. And then, Jim, I can say the redemption tour was a success.
Yeah, look, I have been a Story hater, and I use that word really strongly, but, he's driven me crazy for quite some time. I've wanted him DFA'd earlier this year, and, obviously, to the Red Sox credit, they stuck with him, and, is he an all-star? No, but you know what? He seems to be just doing a lot of the intangibles and doing it effectively like a good quality Major League Baseball player. He's doing all the little things defensively. He's still got very good range. He may have a little tick lost in the strength of that arm, but he'd still be able to turn the double plays effectively. He also has really great, skills that are still things that you can't teach. Being able to make that throw from, shortstop to home to nab a runner, and just a lot of those skills, even at the bat. He isn't an automatic out this season. So he's had his issues back early in May, but for the most part, if there's runners on, I don't know what his batting average is off the top of my head with runners in scoring position, but I would say it's probably better than what we think it is. And it just seems like he's getting some timely hits along for the ride. So, my hat's off to Trevor Story. I hope it continues because, quite frankly, with the power that we don't have in this lineup, we're going to need, his ability to drive the ball, get doubles off the wall, especially into October. I want to switch gears a little bit to the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays have a run differential of plus 16. The Red Sox have a run differential of 78. I'm not a big run differential guy, but I do want to have a little bit of a discussion on this because we are now 3 games behind the Blue Jays for first place, let alone the wild card. And I'm not a complacent guy, so I smell blood and I want to go after it. So, Nick Diamond, I'd like to open with you on this. Is there anything to this, to the fact that the Blue Jays run differential is not very good. Does it mean that their pitching's not good, or is our run differential just inflated because of that 10-game winning streak that we had?
Well, I think it's a little bit of both. The Blue Jays, I honestly, when you look at them, you look at their roster, you don't understand how they're 65-48 coming into the season. I thought they were a near 500 team, and the run differential kind of reflects on that. It seems if you look at their expected win to loss record, there should be 58-55. That's only based on the run differential. And like you said, Jim, you're not a big run differential guy. I'm not either. But when it's that big of a difference, um, it's something to look at. And on the Red Sox side, you can look back at a few games where the Red Sox scored 16, 15, 13 runs, and they won like 13-1 or 17-5 or something like that. So the Red Sox have a lot of blowout games where that inflates the run differential. So I think the Red Sox also play down to earth a little bit, or play a little bit above their record. So if you want me to be honest, I think the Yankees are probably still the best team in the league talent-wise, and then the Blue Jays and the Red Sox are playing a little bit above their talent level at the moment. But I think the Red Sox are going to play around this level going forward. So as long as the Blue Jays collapse, we can actually have a chance at first place.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of faith in the Blue Jays either. I picked them to be a fourth place team this season. When it went back in March, I just didn't see a lot there. So they are kind of a surprise. And to your point, Nick, I'm wondering if they're just getting lucky on some of those games. Nick Face, similar question to you. Do you think we can catch the Blue Jays?
I do think we can catch the Blue Jays. Absolutely, I do. And here's one of those statistics that you stat nerds are not going to like what I have to say on it. I don't care. I don't care on run differential. I care about how many wins you have. And yes, right now the Blue Jays have three more wins than the Red Sox overall when you look in the standings. But I don't think this is sustainable for the Blue Jays. I just don't. Number one, they just don't have any guys that have experience when it comes to the playoffs. They always, to me, feel like they're going to crash and burn. They always do. They always kind of tinker around and they kind of play a tease in a way, and then they just disappear into smithereens. So that to me is one of the biggest signs here on the Blue Jays still being atop the division. I think if the Red Sox continue on the streak that they're at, say they take 2 out of 3 for continuous series here, I mean, you really don't have any massively tough competition. You have the Padres series coming up. That might be a little bit of an interesting one. You have the Yankees a bunch of times. And then you don't have to play the Blue Jays till one of the last weeks of September. So you really have a good rest of the schedule here to give yourself some separation and start going on a little bit of a thump. And to me right now, the Yankees don't scare me. I mean, the Miami Marlins of all teams annihilated them and made them cry. And I'm sure that plane ride coming back home is going to be one of the most painful ones you've seen. Did any of you guys see what went down in the Yankee series this weekend? I want to say one thing on one particular player on the Yankees, and I am so thrilled that we don't have to suffer through this nauseating player by the name of Jazz Grissom. I am so happy that the Red Sox don't have to deal with that nitwit on their roster at all. Good luck to you, Yankees, because that guy is going to end up costing you, number one, the division, but could make you a very early one and done if you get to the wild card. That guy is a train wreck, and I am thrilled that we don't have to stomach watching that imbecile play baseball.
Yeah, he's pretty narcissistic in my book. I'm glad they don't have it. I'm glad we only have one guy like that in Casas, that we don't have a time for another
I hope
one.
you Yankee fans come after me for it, because anybody that wants to back up that play, come and find me.
Dave DePari says, no, they aren't. The Yankees lineup looks old, especially if Judge is out. Plus, Boone will feel the heat on him. It's interesting, too. I mean, the Yankees without Judge almost seems like you walk out of the house without your underwear on. So, I mean, it'd be interesting to see what happens there. But you know what? The Red Sox got to capitalize on that. When another team is down some of their, best players, that's the time where you gotta corner them and win those games and take prisoners. Next thing that I wanted to bring up was Tanner Houck. His season is over. We talked about this, I think, last week that they shut him down. He was playing catch with his dog or something like that. And the fact that he's got a couple more seasons left, he's arbitration eligible, I believe, at the end of this season for the start of next year. Nick Diamond, I want to ask you this question. Do you think it's possible that Tanner Houck would be non-tendered?
Eventually, yes. I think they'll let him rehab and give him a chance. But yeah, there's eventually a chance that he could be non-tendered. I just want to say this is a big mismanagement of Tanner Houck. I think that anyone who watched him, everyone knew there was an injury back in spring training. And you can even go back as far as like September of last season when he fell off a cliff. So this is a complete mismanagement. They should have had him get the surgery in spring training or in April. They waited until August, and he hasn't even had it yet. So who knows how long it's going to be until they actually schedule the surgery and he gets it done. So they basically wasted 2 years of him, 2025 and 2026. At most, we'll see 2027, and there's a chance if he's terrible, if he doesn't respond to his rehab, that we never see him again. So it stinks. Tanner Houck has had a couple good stretches in Boston, but there's a chance we never see him again.
Because I was looking at his contract, and if he's coming back mid 2027, the Red Sox are going to have to be on the hook for an arbitration number at the end of this year, and then he's not going to pitch in 2026, and then they're going to be on the hook for an arbitration number for 2027. And if they're not going to get anything out of him, I'd almost be surprised that they would want to keep him on a roster spot. Nick Face, what's your thoughts on Tanner Houck?
This has been something that I have suspected since the beginning when all these injuries were amounting for Houck. And his disaster of a spring, the beginning of this season, I said to myself, because he's got that funky arm motion, I always looked at that and said, that is just a ticking time bomb for something to happen with the elbow. And lo and behold, here we are. Shame on the Red Sox medical team for not rehabbing and not doing their due diligence on this, because this could have been something that was probably triggered, could have been March, April. Who knows? Who knows if something funky was going on at this point. But we heard in the past couple of weeks from Cora that the rehab wasn't going great. They tried to get him up and going, and nothing happened of it, and it was more of a setback. Now, to your point, Jim, yeah, I would non-tender him. I don't know what you're going to get when he even comes back to recover. Don't forget, this guy has been injury-prone for most of his career. Between the bad back, now the arm problems. To me, I always like to look at what we've had over the years and think about, is somebody similar to who Tanner Houck is right now. And I have to pinpoint Justin Masterson.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah. Justin Masterson was a guy that the Red Sox couldn't figure out what they wanted to do with. They put him in the eighth at the start and piggybacked him with Papelbon, and then they wanted to fool around with putting him in as a starter. Kind of the same thing here that they're doing with Houck. When Houck first came up, he was in the bullpen, and to me, that was where he was the most dominant. He just looked very good in the bullpen over a one-inning span. I feel like so many hitters made adjustments and could figure him out as a starter, and he almost felt to me like Frosty the Snowman when he was on the mound. He's great in the first couple, and then it just gets warm, and springtime comes, and your drippy snowman just melts right away. Well, that's what Tanner Houck was. I was a fan. Don't get me wrong. I like the compete. I like the aggressiveness that he had. He has all kinds of different things in his arsenal from pitches, and pretty much got the job done outside of this season. But you're at a point here now where you got to come back from another major injury here. I just don't want to take the chance, Jim and Nick. I'm done with this whole Liam Hendricks, and I'm just done with the whole redemption tour. I'm done. The Walker Buehlers of the world, your Corey Klubers of the world. I'm done. Go get a quality guy that can give you innings, that has a proven track record. the mash unit's done. It's done its song and dance. I'm done repeating it. Goodbye, Hulk. Goodbye. Sorry.
The Red Sox just try to find lightning in the bottle and needle in haystacks with all these guys. I mean, now we read that Pablo Sandoval is done for the year. So Pablo, excuse me. I might as well be.
He was done in 2015 or whatever the hell he was.
Yeah,
in.
yeah. But again, it's all these rehab guys, and the other thing is too is even our own. Chris Sale, Chris Murphy, Zach Kelly. I mean, it just seems like everybody's elbows are blowing out under Andrew Bailey, and I think a lot of it has to do with the spin rate. And so it is unfortunate. I just think that when Hauk was just coming up, and of course we had Garrett Whitlock. It was all about value with the two of them, and getting them into the rotation, especially after they signed Whitlock to that team-friendly deal, about getting more value out of those guys and putting them into the rotation, as opposed to putting them where they were going to probably be best suited and be most effective. And I said this on Twitter since day one. If you go back to my tweets, Garrett Whitlock should have been either an 8 or 9 inning guy, and Tanner Houck had actually closed for the Red Sox for a couple games, and he looked really good doing that. So either one of them and both should have been in that late bullpen conversation. And unfortunately, the Red Sox didn't want to do that again because it's all about value, and it just blew up on them. So it's unfortunate, but I just think that when you look at the fact that he won't be back until the mid-2027, it's very possible that we may have seen the last pitch Tanner Houck throws for the Boston Red Sox, but we'll see. Nick, you got a comment?
Yeah, one thing. I think there's a better chance, just saying something I thought, I think there's a better chance the Red Sox non-tender Tristan Casas over Tanner Houck, just because Tanner Houck's a pitcher. We've never heard of issues with Tanner Houck. Anyone having issues with Tanner Houck. I just think there's a way better chance they keep Tanner Houck in house. They let him rehab. They think he still has something in the tank. Whether you, like you said, bring him back to the bullpen, I think he's more valuable than a guy like Tristan Casas. If they have to choose between the one or the other, I think they'll choose Tanner Houck. If they have one 40-minute spot or something like that,
I would be all for that.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Nick Diamond. I mean, after all, I'm not the best Tristan Casas fan. I've never been since day one. I just don't like his makeup, and I just don't think he's a dirt dog. And I like dirt dog players. So
I'm not interested in Tristan Casas coming back to this team. I'm not. I really am not. I want that ship to sail. Sayonara. Good riddance.
Kind of piggybacking off the injury train, we do hear a little bit more that Marcelo Mayer, his sprained wrist is more serious than envisioned, which kind of brings me back to the Tanner Houck thing. I didn't hear a lot on his elbow and the fact that it was possibly that he was going to go for UCL, and then it just came out of nowhere. And now we got Marcelo Mayer. It seems like the medical staff on the Boston Red Sox is watching the Three Stooges, because it doesn't seem like they know what the hell they're doing. So I don't know what's going on in Mass General or Beth Deaconess, but they've got to find some better doctors over there. He's done for the year, in my opinion. Nick Face, I mean, what is your thoughts on Marcelo Mayer? And, this is so much – it makes the Trevor Story staying healthy situation more important.
Oh, it's vital, 100%. And I don't think this shot's going to take him the wrist. I don't. As I said earlier on one of our earlier pods, the biggest concern to me with any player in baseball who has a wrist injury, that is a long time to get back to being comfortable again with hitting the baseball. I don't want to repeat 2001 again. That was when Nomar was at his prime, got jacked right in the wrist, and it pretty much changed everything for Nomar in his career. The downfall just went there. He had a good 2002 coming back, and same with 2003, but it just never was the same. And this is what really scares me here with the wrist. And you gotta get Marcelo Mayer healthy. The biggest question on Marcelo Meyer in his career is durability. There's always something with him that he's getting hurt, or whether it's his fault or not. I just don't know what's the DNA of him is composed of. Can he fight back? Can he get back to getting on the top? I don't want to give up on Meyer or Mayer. I just don't want to do that. But you got to get him into a point where all this hype from being such a highly regarded prospect, you want the best for him. I just don't think that you're going to see him the rest of this season. And the seriousness of this is something that I question, much like you, Jim. What is going on with the medical team here? You're supposed to be the best of the best here, and you can't diagnose what's up with Marcelo Meyer? That's just not acceptable to me. It's not. And it just leads me to believe that they're not disclosing all the information and being transparent, much like the biggest problem is at Fenway Park. There's no transparency. You don't know. It's like a big mystery on what's happening. So I just don't put much faith in this shot getting Marcelo Meyer back.
I don't either. I see a lot of patients that have had cortisone injections and they're temporary at best. If there's inflammation that's still there, it's going to come back unless it's actually done properly. Big John Studd, I loved him as a wrestler. Big John Studd writes, Mayer has a wrist injury almost every year in the minors. There's, and also too, he wrote in that the wrist, elbow, it's always something. Guy's never been healthy in the minors and never played a full season. He's 100% right. Nick Diamond, your thoughts on Mayer and where do we go from here with him?
My number one thought on Mayer is we 100% missed our opportunity to trade him. Once you bring up a prospect to the major leagues and he stinks, all of his value disappears. All of his value is at his highest point when he's in AAA ranking. They should have traded him then. They should have left him in AAA. I know they only brought him up because of necessity, but they should have left him in AAA and traded him because everyone knew he had a durability issue. And like this guy said, Big John Studd said, it's been like 3 or 4 years. Every single year has ended in a season-ending injury, whether he's played 120 games, 111 games, 80 games, 70 games, whatever it was. I don't know the exact games off the top of my head. But Marcelo Meyer has a durability issue, and the Red Sox missed every opportunity to trade him. This is the guy we've been promised for 5 years that's going to be the savior of this Red Sox team, and he hasn't really done anything. He's come up bat 220, played good defense wherever he's played. I'll give him credit for that. But besides that, he's not done anything besides get hurt, hit mediocre at best. He can't play against lefties in the major leagues. So we missed every opportunity to trade him, and that's the biggest point I wanted to bring up. Unfortunately, I don't know where to go after here because you just got to bank on Trevor Story staying healthy, holding down shortstop, and then one of the other guys can step up at second base because, like you said, I think Marcelo Meyer is not going to respond from the cortisone shot. He's going to be out for the season. And I think the reason why they've disclosed all this information, at first I thought it was because of the trade deadline. There was a chance they wanted to trade him, but I don't think there was any chance they wanted to trade him. All these teams have seen him in the major leagues. They've seen him now. They know what to expect. So I think there's no shot of that happening. And now I think there's just a lack of honesty to the fan base or even Marcelo Meyer. So unfortunately, we're just going to be without him for the whole season.
Yeah, Nick, very, very absolute points that you brought up, especially with the fact that, your prospect capital is going to be at its highest amount when they're in the minors. And if you bring them up and they don't succeed at the major league level, you've ruined and tanked your upper hand. And they've done that with Mayer. And, hopefully they haven't done that with Christian Campbell. That's very, very nerve-wracking there because, we've been shoved down our throats with the three of these guys for a number of years. And frankly, right now it looks like Roman Anthony's the only one. And part of me thought that could be true. And look, I've said it before with Mayer. There's a reason why he was supposed to go number one and Ben Cherington, passed on him. And, two other teams did too. And he fell in number 4 to you. So, I'm really concerned that he's going to wind up being, a platoon player, a defensive first guy that's always going to be hurt. And you're he's just going to kind of like fizzle out into nowhere. It's unfortunate, but again, if my guy Dave Dombrowski was here, he probably would have already traded him for Matt Olson or something, and we'd be flying pretty high on that. The other
You got
thing
that
that
right.
Big John Stud had written here, and he said, Mo
Move
Vaughn
on.
Grissom and Christian Campbell get him up. I mean, Nick Face, what's your thoughts? Should we give Grissom another shot? Do you think he's going to come up in September when we get the call ups?
First of all, I love that nickname. That was my first real love of a Red Sox player when I was a kid. The Hit Dog. Nothing better than that. Nick, I'm probably aging myself when I say you weren't around for Mo Vaughn, were you?
I was in college for Mo Vaughn. Let's put
Yeah.
it
No,
that way.
not really.
Yeah, I was age 5 through 8 was my Mo Vaughn era. So Mo Vaughn was my first big take on a player not coming back. I was so devastated when '99 hit and he went to the Angels. But moving on from that and my whole trauma that I dealt with Mo Vaughn, I'm ready for Vaughn Grissom to come up. The question is, where do you play him? That's the biggest thing. I said earlier on this that the numbers that you see on Grissom proves 100% that he should be up. And I don't like to speculate, but one of the rumors that I have heard is that it's from being insubordinate. And he came up and there was some tension that was going on between Fatsy and him. And I think that that's what he's being punished for. So, yeah, I do think it's a punishment sort of thing with Grissom not being up here. As sick as that is to say, I'd rather say the truth. And that's what I've heard. I've heard that this is what it's about. And it also is because the Red Sox value David Hamilton more with the speed off the bench. So it's a matter of where is he going to play. They also like Abe Toro. They like him at first base. You've been fine with Bregman. You survived that. He was higher on the depth chart with Meyer when he was down. Right now, it's a matter of where's he going to play. Second base today, they had Romy Gonzalez. You got Sedan Rafaela rotating in and out. I just don't think there's a roster spot for him. And I don't really think it's worth putting him on the roster if he's really not going to play. I really don't. So that's where my take is on that. And then Christian Campbell, Big John Stud also mentioned him. He's starting to really heat up. I'm all for bringing him up. It's the question of will the Red Sox make that change? And the change would be Abe Toro going back to Worcester and Christian Campbell coming back up to occupy first base. I don't think I'm interested in Christian Campbell playing second base again. I'm speaking for myself. Maybe Nick has a different take. Jim, you may as well. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in seeing Christian Campbell at first, but I kind of saw what he did at second base, and I'm not comfortable with him playing second base in the major leagues. I'm just not. So I think this is coming down to a roster crunch here to make the point across to Big John Stud.
Nick Diamond, really quickly, your take on Grissom and Campbell.
Like Nick said, Vaughn Grissom, there's no spot for him, and frankly, I don't want him playing second base or first base at the major league level. Defensively, he's not good. He looks scared to throw the ball just from second base to first base. I want no part of him. I think that Vaughn Grissom doesn't do anything better than Romy Gonzalez. He doesn't do anything better than even Nick Sahogard. So at that point, let him get his at-bats in AAA and maybe trade him eventually. With Christian Campbell, I'm open to seeing him at first base. I want more than a 13-game hitting streak in AAA just to call him up off that. I want to see more of an extended period of success more than just a hot streak. So I'd like to see him go at least a month, maybe call him up in September and deal with it back then. I don't want to take Toro out of the lineup at the moment. He's starting to heat up again finally after being horrible for about a month and a half, 2 months. So I don't want to just send him down and ruin him. Romy Gonzalez can easily play first base and second base. I think that's the way to do it. And I think we have the roster spot not to bring up any of these guys at the moment. We're playing well. I don't want to really mess with it. Mm-hmm. I'm open to Christian Campbell more than Vaughn Grissom later on in the season, though.
Yep, yeah, some great points in there. And just to parlay off what you said, my take on both of them, let me start with Grissom. I think at this point, we're so late in the season that I think you don't want to not only mess with what we're doing on the major league level, but there's really no room for him here. I think you do stay with Toro and Romy Gonzalez in this platoon situation because unless there's an injury, okay, I don't think you want to actually mess with anything Grissom is doing. Let him rake in the minors because that's the only way I believe that you would be able to build on his value. If you bring him up and he tanks again here in the major league level, if you have any chance of trading him in the offseason, his value is gonna go down. So I'd rather have him just tear it up in the minors, and then maybe you can make some sort of trade that brings us something of value back. So that's how I'll let that go. As far as Campbell, I still have a lot of faith in him. I don't know if you'll see him this year, but we could see what happens for next season. But I do want to switch gears a little bit, talk about the Kansas City Royals are up next, coming into Fenway Park. We have the lineup is going to be the pitching probables are Brian Bayo against Bailey Falter. There is Garrett Crochet in Game 2 on Tuesday against Ryan Bergert, and then Dustin May gets his first start as a Boston Red Sox, and he goes against old friend Michael Waka. Nick Diamond, take me through this 3-game series, and what are your takes and expectations for this?
Right off the bat, I think the Red Sox are going to take 2 of 3. I'll give you my reasons why. Bailey Falter is a guy the Royals just acquired at the deadline from the Pittsburgh Pirates. He's a left-handed pitcher, single ball pitcher, doesn't throw super hard. I think like 93, 94, 95 maybe. We just saw what the Red Sox did to 2 lefties against the Astros, so I expect more of the same. They'll look to mash against the left-handed pitcher. I think Bayo would do enough, and the Red Sox will take Game 1. Game 2 is the Garrett Crochet start. We haven't seen him in a while. The Red Sox deliberately pushed him back, I think, originally to Monday. Or even I think they had originally pushed him back to Sunday and then Monday, and now he's going to pitch Tuesday. So I think Garrett Crochet is going to go out there and dominate. I'm not going to pick against Garrett Crochet no matter what. He's arguably the best pitcher in baseball. He's a joy to watch every time out there, and the Red Sox will probably win Game 2. In Game 3, I don't have much trust in Dustin May. I just hope he proves me wrong. He goes out there and the Red Sox have a plan for him to do better than he has at the Dodgers. But like everyone's been saying, if the Dodgers cut you loose, there's a good chance that you're cooked. So I don't have a lot of trust in Dustin May. I think the Red Sox will lose the finale. But if they take 2 of 3, that'll put them up to a 7-game winning streak. And I'd take that coming off a frustrating start. Frustrating start to a deadline or after the break, coming out and winning 7 games in a row here. I think that'd be really nice.
Nick Face, your reactions to the upcoming Kansas City series.
Just to piggyback on Nick's thing with that whole when they lost last Monday before the trade deadline and everything, I think that if this team was last year, that's when you would have collapsed. That Monday loss when we had the rain delay and everything there, we wouldn't even be talking about having this Astros series be a 3-game sweep or going into this Royal series now where you have the potential to once again sweep. I don't know what to expect with Dustin May. That is the biggest question. I think all of us are still trying to ponder here on what is he going to provide? What's he going to do? Will he be an upgrade over a Buehler or a Fitz? We need to see that before I can come out and say it's going to be a 3-game sweep against the Royals. So that's the one that if you can give me 5 and then get to the bullpen, if it's rested, I feel confident that you could get a sweep. I feel Monday and Tuesday, though, with Bayo and then Crochet, those are your slam dunkers to me. Slam dunkers. I actually have more faith right now, and this isn't anything on Crochet, on Bayo's tomorrow night. I think that's going to be a special one for him. Tuesday, the only reason I have a little bit of a question mark, it's not a big question mark, but it's just more of a, he's been off for a little bit. Will he be rusty? Will the command be there? Those are things that I'm going to be looking for. I hope this rest has made him healthier and got him more strength and given him the stamina to get a great start in. So overall, I'm looking at least 2 of 3 here from the Royals. And if Dustin May can give you 5, heck, if it's longer than that, you'll be smooth sailing here for a 3-game sweep.
Yeah, kind of piggyback on both of you guys. I feel very confident in the Bayo game. You're facing arguably a rookie, or no, I'm sorry. Breggert's been around for a little bit. I'm sorry about that. But he's been kind of a journeyman guy. He was with Philly, I think, for a while. That's Falter, right? I'm sorry, Falter. Bergert's the rookie. He's 1-0 and a 2.78 ERA or something like that. But not a lot of faith there. He's a young guy. I think, we can certainly take him in that Crochet game. And then as far as Michael Waka, that's the kind of one, the flip coin. If Dustin May has a pretty good start, if we can get him deep into that game, maybe the offense comes alive and surprises us. Waka still has a 3.38 ERA, still been a pretty good guy. I feel good about game 1. I feel greater about game 2. Game 3 is the question mark. So it should either be 2 out of 3 or maybe we can sweep them. But obviously it starts with the first 2 games. So get those under our belt, get us to a 6 or 7 game win streak, and then hopefully we get some losses from Toronto and New York, and we can kind of like end this, get out to that San Diego series, maybe close to first place. Any final takes from either one of you guys tonight? Nick Face, go ahead.
I don't want to hear the bitching and complaining on Tuesday night when Nesson has the all-female broadcast. I just want to make sure that is out. We are going to warn you here now. This is not to say that we aren't for the women. Women should have all equal rights and opportunities and all that sort of thing. I want to make sure I state that very clearly. However, when it comes to consistency and what you want to listen to with your home broadcast, I'm not a big Dave O'Brien fan. I've said that many, many, many times. But when it comes to what you want to listen to for your broadcast, for familiarity and comfort and all that, I think we should have a choice. I really do. I want to state that. I think what Apple TV did on Friday, that was one of my first experiences with doing the whole, you can choose the radio broadcast, you can choose whatever thing. I thought that was so cool, and I really want to applaud Apple for that quality of a broadcast. The cameras, the effects, all that were just top notch. And I feel we as fans who pay for the product, especially those that pay for Nesson and Nesson 360 and all that, our voices should be heard as fans. And we should be the ones that are selling the network. This is what we want. It's all great for other people if they want the opportunity. That's why you have Nesson Plus. Put them on that. That's fine. But when you have to take the consistency factor out within your game, that's not fair and that's not right. And for those that have to sit out this game, a Dave O'Brien, a Lou Merlone, a Will Middlebrooks, whoever the heck they want in there, to me, I'm sorry, that's not right. But if the women want the opportunity, they have every right that they want to do what they want. But we should be able to have the opportunity to still listen to what we feel is right.
Well, I think my take on that is that we should just deal with the broadcasters that know the team. Unfortunately, even with ESPN, you get Eduardo Perez in there and so forth, and some of these guys are baseball guys, but they just don't have the pulse on that particular team because they're covering everybody, and it's not their fault. But there is some really bad broadcasting on Apple TV and Roku and so forth. I mean, Dave O'Brien did today's game, so it wasn't that egregious, but there's been some Apple TV games that I've watched that have been just horrific to listen to. And it's not their fault. They just need to do a better job with either knowing the product, knowing the fans, knowing the players, or they need to, just get the team's guys on that broadcast. Because I will agree with you, the camera angles and the 4K quality is excellent for sure.
It was awesome. And it was cool. It was cool listening to Sean McDonough and Will Fleming from the Apple broadcast on Friday night. Yep. That's something that I had no idea you could do. So that is something that I would absolutely entertain. These other networks that do this sort of thing, make it happen. Because that is listening to what your viewers want. That familiarity, knowing the team, it was great. So A+ on the product from Friday night. Not looking forward to Tuesday.
Nick Diamond, your closing thoughts for tonight.
Um, the Royals are the team that just took 2 or 3 for the Blue Jays, so they're coming in hot. So we can't take them lightly. I know we had a lot of low expectations for this series against the Astros. I thought the Red Sox would probably win on one, if not get swept. I thought there was a chance of getting swept, a pretty good chance of getting swept. So I just hope they stay up, keep the positive vibes up here. I hope Alex Bregman's in there leading the way because it seems like that's what happened. I hope it wasn't just to get all the energy up against the Astros because he really wanted to beat the Astros. I hope he keeps the whole team focused going forward and we keep the hot streak going through this Royal series and into the San Diego Padres series, who are going to face some good pitching and good players out there.
Yeah, I think it's very important to win this series. I always say, listen, go for the jugular, win all three. I saw a tweet from Tyler Milliken. It was like, oh, well, we won the series, so if we lose today, that's okay. No, it's not. Okay,
Yeah, I
it's
hated
not
that too.
okay. I'm tired of the complacency of some of these Red Sox fans that just don't understand baseball. And if you had lost today and you finish a game out of a wild card spot, it's not okay. All right, you should. I don't like second place. I'm not someone that gives ribbons and awards for 17th place. Second place is the first loser. That's the way I look at things. So you gotta do that, and that's one of the things. And we've talked about it before with Alex Cora and his juggling of the rotation and the lineup. Sometimes it drives me crazy, but you should go for the jugular on all of those. And I'm going to be honest with you. I don't want to see any B lineup in this series coming up. I want them to go and step on the neck of the Kansas City Royals in all three of these games because I have a lot more faith that they could sweep Kansas City than taking 3 out of 4 from San Diego or, a split. So, I want to make sure that these games are in tow. Play it like it's a playoff game now and win these three. And then we can worry about San Diego later. But yeah, that's my take on that. So I'd like to thank Nick and Nick for joining me tonight. Please go ahead and subscribe to our digital product at redsoxdigest.com. That's redsoxdigest.com. We have daily articles and some history with Fenway flashback from there, and he will be back from Alaska and overseas next week. He'll be back on the pod. So we will see you tomorrow night after the game, and then we will be back on Wednesday. And Friday's broadcast will be before the San Diego game, but we'll be able to recap the entire Kansas City series. So have a good night, everybody, and we will talk to you tomorrow.